scale of 1 to 10, how impressive was that comeback?
Morning, Skip.
Yes.
You know, it was impressive because they stayed the course, right? And you said 1 to 10 on the scale. Hey, look, I'm gonna give it a 7. And the reason I'm gonna give it a 7, not a 10, not overboard, is because the Detroit Lions gave them the football game.
Aha.
They stayed the course. They did their job, right? They didn't squander their opportunity, but Detroit allowed them to beat them. It was all on Detroit and Dan Campbell and company. This had nothing to do with 24/7 and Brock Purdy is coming and Christian McCaffrey. No, it has something to do with being outcoached in the second half, making some decisions that he probably wish he didn't make. Now that the cooling off period is here,
yep.
I would think, right, Skip, that now all of a sudden he's sitting back in his office and saying, why did I do that? No, you can't take anything away from the San Francisco 49ers because they stayed the course. But if you look at it, it's impressive because in situations like this, when you're down 24/7, you're probably, in certain situations, you're probably going to lose the game. And players are going to start to feel as the clock ticks away, they start to feel like we have no hope. There's not a chance. This is why those 3 points are so crucial because it feels different when you're down more than 24-7. When you're down, 27-7 or 28-7 or whatever the case is,
yep.
it just feels different. Now, when you look at the history of the National Football League, the only other team, and you have to correct me, it just popped in my mind because I don't know if it was the AFC Championship game. It might have been the wild card, Frank Wright, Buffalo, Houston comeback, captain comeback game. It might have been either a divisional game or a wild card. I'm not 100% sure. But Buffalo went on and went to the Super Bowl, obviously, that year. They came from behind where Houston was just smacking them upside the head. Frank Reich, second half, just engineered the same sort of situation where Houston gave them the football game. Detroit just gave it to them. They gave it to them. 3 turnovers you think about it. They had 3 turnovers in the second half, 1 fumble, turnovers on downs. I mean, like, come on now. You can't win that way.
Okay. So you want to reduce your 7 down to like a 5?
No, I'm going to give them a 7.
Okay.
I can't give them a 5. I'm going to give them a 7, but I can't give them a 10.
Yeah.
Even though Richard will probably give them 100.
He might give them 1,000. Yep. Okay, your turn, Richard.
I mean, based on that logic, I probably need to give him 100 because apparently 17 again. It just always moves with Key. 17 wasn't enough this time. It's not that much. You're down by 17. That's nothing
I didn't
in the
say,
ball game.
I didn't say it wasn't
nothing
enough.
in the NFC Championship. It's not 24. It's not if you're down 27-7 or 28-7. That's the kind of stuff you hear after games like this where a team comes back and wins. And it's like, oh, they weren't down enough. They weren't nervous. You couldn't have been nervous. That's what you say after the game.
How could you not be nervous?
But it's okay.
Are you serious,
I got you. I got them at a 9 out of 10 because they went and executed, because it was about the San Francisco 49ers and it was about the Detroit Lions, because the Detroit Lions, the first half was all about them. They ran the ball well. They executed well. They played bully ball. I mean, they were averaging 6 yards a carry. You got to give them all the credit in the world. The Jameson Williams reverse, he looked fantastic, fast. The San Francisco defense looked a little shell-shocked at that point. You got to give them all the credit in the world. And I didn't hear anything about getting out-coached or getting outplayed or not ready to play then. And so in the second half, the San Francisco 49ers made adjustments. Steve Wilkes made adjustments. And they showed championship mettle and championship pedigree. You didn't see the infighting by the team. You didn't see guys yelling at each other, guys like getting on each other or folding. You just saw guys making play after play after play. They needed to stop, they got to stop. They needed to stop, they got to stop. A turnover on downs is earned. It's earned. It's not given to you. You can say what you want, but at the end of the day, they scored 27 unanswered points in an NFC Championship game. That's tough to do, regardless of who you're playing, because nobody accidentally gets to the NFC Championship game. Detroit earned their way there, so did San Francisco. And in this game, they showed championship mettle. Championship pedigree is forged through fire and adversity. So this team needed this. They needed to fight. They needed to show and prove to themselves that they can fight out of these holes and get there. And that's what they showed. So I give it a 9 out of 10 because you're in the NFC Championship. 10 out of 10 if it was the Super Bowl.
Skip, let me ask you this because you would know off the top of your head. How many times did they run the ball in the first half?
21.
And how many times did they run the second half?
8.
And you think that they ran it 7 or 8 times in the second half because that stout defense stopped them, so they said, we can't run the football after we just gashed
Did you watch the 8? If I showed you the 8, you would say
God,
yes.
Stop.
Yes.
You don't
if y'all showed you the 8.
You know what?
Richard,
That's not true, Richard.
You do not abandon the run like that. Man, stop
What's
it.
true, Skip?
They averaged 4.3 yards a carry in the second half on 8 tries. I mean, that's good enough to get first down.
1 yard or none. 4 of those runs got stopped for 0 or 1 yard.
Yeah, they may have.
So you can say what you want, Skip.
Richard, they may have, but that's not my point. My point to all of this is San Francisco's defense in the second half against the run, they didn't stout them to a point where they needed to abandon the run. They stopped runs in the first half. San Francisco defense stopped runs in the first half?
No, they did not.
They
did not.
Okay, so you're telling me every single time out of those 20-plus carries, they got positive yards to an degree. No, they did not.
Yes. Yes, I am telling you that.
Okay.
That's what happened.
All right. I just say that if Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson decided to take the same approach that they took in the first half, the second half, Detroit wins the game.
Again, if it was a fifth, you and if Bayless can get together, y'all can take me to dinner because y'all owe me 4 of them. So, y'all we can say if
you
all you
me,
want, but what happened is what happened.
I don't owe you anything. Lamar's going to win the MVP, and you're going to owe me.
Yeah. He's going to win it.
You bet me on the game.
No, I did.
You bet me on the game.
No, I did not. I bet you on Lamar.
The Baltimore game you did.
I bet you on the MVP, but we'll talk about that, Skip.
The Baltimore Chiefs game you bet me on. Just with Skip. You jumped on Skip's train.
No, I did not.
You jumped on Skip's train. No. You did.
Boy, we got records.
Well, I tell you what.
Go ahead, Skip.
Okay. All right, Richard.
I can't wait to.
Richard, I appreciate your pom-pom love for your 49ers. You were there on Sunday night. You played for them. They're a great franchise. I covered the franchise. I know it from the ground up. It's great, and it gets in your blood, and I understand all the above. But I did first guess this. You weren't here on Friday, but Keyshawn can attest to this. I went back and forth with Keyshawn and Michael because I did not believe in the Detroit Lions. I thought they were fraudulent. I told Keyshawn because he predicted the Lions would win, and I got it because he knows the coordinator, the defensive coordinator, because he played with Aaron Glenn, and he knows the head coach because he played with the head coach, and it gets in his blood and gets in his heart, and he admitted it was a heart over a head pick. Is that fair to
100%.
say? Okay, all right.
100%.
Okay, and I said, no, they're fraudulent because they have little to no playoff experience. What had it been? 32 years since they'd won a playoff game, 67 years since they'd won a road playoff game, and they had very few players with much of any playoff experience. And I looked at their track record, and remember, they went to Baltimore, and they got destroyed at Baltimore, 28-0 at half and 35-0 after 3 quarters. Remember what happened to them on Thanksgiving at home in a game they traditionally own. Green Bay went in there and just tore them apart. It was 23-6 at halftime. So I thought this was a mismatch. I thought the spread was way too low. And what happened in the second half, I thought would have happened in the first half. But, Richard, it was beyond shameful. It was almost like Green Bay at Dallas shameful in that playoff game for the 49ers at home to give up more yards rushing than Kyle had ever given up in any single game in his 7-year tenure there in San Francisco in a full game of rush yards. 148 on 21 carries, and you said 7 yards a carry. That was my math. That is outrageously wrong for the 49ers in an NFC Championship game at home. And that's what tilted the playing field, obviously, in favor of the visiting team that is really not that good. And they're coached by a good guy who's pretty wacky. I'm not sure they love and trust him because they know he's going to make some crazy go for literally broke decisions.
That's why.
And that's what started happening. And to Keyshawn's point, you were really blessed. You were very lucky that the opponent was the Lions turning back into the Lions, because if they don't help you, I'm not sure you get there. But you got there by 3:02 was left in the third quarter. You already caught them. So it didn't even take a quarter more of the second half to tie the score, because they're self-destructing all over the place. And if we could see these plays again, Richard hates these plays, but the first one, the 4th and 2 play to Josh Reynolds.
Football.
And here's the throw to Josh Reynolds. And actually, they gambled and they quote-unquote won, because I thought Jared Goff made a really nice throw. This is open. He stepped up.
Throw.
What was the result, Skip?
Perfect throw.
That's
and he dropped
perfect throw.
Josh Reynolds
He let
dropped
that
it.
ball
was
get
a perfect
behind
drop.
him. You cannot let the ball get behind you.
Okay.
His hands is
bright lights
all
are enticing.
screwed up.
Look what they did to Tyson.
It's the damn
Okay.
ball.
Look at the bright lights.
Okay. All right.
The bright lights.
Okay, there we go. And then we got to see the Ayuk play, because this ball has to be intercepted, and you might have some problems here.
Even if it's not intercepted,
might.
even if it's not intercepted,
might.
Knock it down or something. It hits him in the
might.
face. Hit him right in the face mask.
You might.
And it's the carom of the century.
but Ayuk gets credit from me because he stayed the course. Ayuk gets credit.
He did. So he makes the play. Way to go.
So-
and then obviously Jameer fumbles right after that. So now you're really up against
Oh,
it.
because that was luck. That was luck too. That
No,
was luck
that
too.
was-
It wasn't like
It was a
somebody
bad-
stripped the
it was
ball.
a
He just
bad-
dropped it.
It was a bad handoff,
It was.
man.
Come
on, man. It was a bad
It was
handoff.
Keyshawn Gibson stripped the ball from him.
It was a bad handoff, Richard. He didn't even get a clean handoff.
Did he strip him at the?
Yeah,
Did he strip him at the
come on,
handoff
Richard,
point,
though,
or
man,
did he
you know-
strip him 3 steps later?
Man, I ain't even.
But when
never mind,
when
man.
all you want to,
Never mind.
please don't. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, excuse yourself.
Because you're
Yeah,
going to sit up here and you're going to keep saying it was.
Because
he
you're
stripped it.
you're watching
It
a
was
man strip the
bad
ball from him.
handoff. He sit there trying to
But
get
that's
it.
that's what it sounds like.
All right.
And then
when you want it to be luck.
Then Richard, Detroit is so unraveling that now they face, after the Jameer handoff, and they go score. Your team went and scored. And now it's 3rd and 9, Detroit at their 26, and they throw it to Josh Reynolds a second time. And here's what happened.
Oh,
This is
man,
the
what
next
happened?
throw to Josh Reynolds.
What happened?
This is the first. Oh, Lord have mercy. Now that's even
Oh,
worse. I
my
mean, that just hits
goodness.
him right in the breadbasket. I mean, I don't know how you drop that.
They didn't learn the first time. He dropped the first one.
Okay.
I forgot
Why you
about
throw it
this
to him
one.
again?
This is
I
horrible.
forgot about this one.
Because this is move
Oh,
the chains, man. This is the clock's going to tick,
Oh,
tick,
man.
tick, tick, tick. Okay.
Oh, geez.
Why is he
so
jumping?
San Francisco didn't have
What are you
any.
jumping
They didn't
for?
have any drops in the game.
Okay.
Oh my God! San Francisco played a perfect game, and Detroit played such an awful game.
catch the
Skip.
football,
oh my
man.
gosh!
All right.
Because San Francisco had no drops, no mistakes. They played perfect, Skip.
Okay,
And you
so-
look at the game and you just say, man, Detroit, if you would have played perfect too, you would have won.
Okay, so now back to Keyshawn's point. 21 times they ran the ball in the first half for 148 yards, and they come out in the second half, and if you just do the math in your head, you're up 24-7. If you come out and just run it every time, you just keep handing off the ball and let the clock just run, it's going to be fairly difficult. Maybe not impossible, but fairly difficult for the 49ers to get back in the game.
Pick up a
But
couple
no,
first downs.
you just abandoned that plan because, you got stopped a couple of times. Oh, well, but wait a second. You'd gashed him for 7 yards at pop in the first half?
And you know what's so crazy about this, Richard? And we talk about this running and Dan Campbell. Because I know Dan and because I know the way he should be thinking in these situations, he went totally against his principles and his rules in the second half. And what I mean by that is he came up through certain coaching ranks, through certain coaches that would never abandon the run when you up 24-7.
They just
never.
No.
Man, Sean Payton would never.
It's like Cardinal
Bill
sin.
Parcells would never.
No.
They just would never start throwing the football all over the lot.
Yeah.
They just wouldn't.
I got you. I got you
Okay.
because I'm sitting here listening to Skip tell me the Lions don't have any playoff experience, like their quarterback hasn't been to a Super Bowl. I'm listening
he's
to
the
this
only
like,
one.
like there's
He's the
other
only
teams.
one. All right.
He's the only
All
one.
right.
He's at the most important position.
Okay.
And so how many teams do?
Richard.
But Skip, I'm gonna go for a second because you said they're fraudulent, but they're in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
So why don't other fraudulent teams make the NFC? Why didn't your fraudulent Dallas Cowboys make it?
That's a
because you
good
thought they
question.
would make it. Your prediction was they would make the Super Bowl.
I
so then
did
when
say
we
that,
talk about
and I was so
your
wrong
predictions.
about that. But Detroit was the one that got two home playoff games against the Rams and Baker Mayfield, and they did it. But look what was happening.
Because they won.
Guess what was happening, Richard, in those two games? Matt Stafford threw for 367 yards. Baker Mayfield threw for 349 yards. Dak Prescott against the Lions threw for 345 yards. 7 times in the regular season, teams threw for 300-plus yards on that Detroit secondary. And it's why Detroit ranked 23rd in points allowed. I'm sorry, way overrated.
Maybe
they just had a magical
maybe your
run
team
to
needs
the
to give
NFC
up 300
Championship
a few times because they got to the NFC Championship and your team didn't, Skip. So, I mean, your points, I hear them, Skip, but I really don't because you're not.
It's about the Lions.
This is about the NFC Championship and the team that made it. And you sitting there trying to make a point on why they made it. You're saying they gave up 300 yards twice in 2 playoff games, and yet they won those playoff games, Skip. Yeah. So I'm trying to understand what point you're trying to make. Oh, they struggled in the secondary, so they made up for it in other aspects. I hear that. So you're trying to make an excuse why, man, they didn't deserve to be there, and they shouldn't have. Like, I hear what you're saying, Skip, but it's irrelevant and erroneous, and it's weak points.
It's not erroneous. It could be irrelevant, but... Okay, here's the point, Richard. The truth is, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you step back and look at this, it's a 5. I'll give you a 5. It's fine. You did it. You did what you should have done in the first half. You did it in the second half. And the game was effectively over before the third quarter was over. That's how fast you came back in that game, because the Lions turned back into the Lions. You were lucky. You had the right team at the wrong place at the wrong time, and you took advantage, as you should have, in the first half.
Could not care less.
Yeah, and it's why I step back and look at the big picture of the Super Bowl, and I'm still surprised the 49ers are favored by 1.5, because here we go again with Mahomes. We were looking at him saying, he's an underdog. Really? He's an underdog again? So this will be 3 straight playoff games. He's been the underdog. You better look out, because it seems like he really loves being the underdog.
You know, I'm not going to discredit San Francisco to a 5, Skip, in this situation. I gave him a 7.
You did.
Okay, but when I look at it, and you know this, Richard, because you've been in situations similar to this, coaches can make mistakes to cost you games. You've been in one of those, the biggest in your career. You're supposed to honestly have 2 Super Bowl rings. We're supposed to be saying 2-time Super Bowl champion Richard Sherman. That's what we're supposed to be saying. But coaches make mistakes. You know the mistake I'm talking about. Instead of turning it around and handing the football to a guy with dreads and allowing him to just steamroll it into the end zone, they decided to do something else different. Dan Campbell, right before the half, decided to think twice and kick the field goal instead of saying, well, I could probably pick up. And this is the first half. Now, mind you, we're not even talking about the second half. We're talking about the first half after they just gash you for 100-plus yards on the ground. You're 2 yards away from getting a first down and 2.5 from scoring a touchdown. You don't want to go for it. You'd rather kick a field goal. That's a coaching mistake, Richard. It just is.
But what if I told you? What if I told you the kicker was 45% from 48-plus yards?
No, I'm talking about
in the second half.
I'm talking about
those field goals would have been from 48+.
I'm talking about going up to 28-7, with you walking into the locker room with your head down, opposed to the momentum changing because you now put the fist up because it's 4th down, and you stop them and you make them kick a field goal defensively. You like, yeah, we all right now. We in this. If you go in with your head down 28-7, you're sitting around, you can hear an ant crawl on the ground in the locker room. You've been in these situations, because I have. I've been in these situations before. Huh?
Not an ant crawl on the ground.
Man, you know how quiet.
Not an ant crawl on the ground.
Man, you know how quiet it is in the locker room when you 28-7. You sitting there thinking, damn, we just lost this. That's a coaching mistake. That's my only thing when I start talking about Detroit gave you this major opportunity. They took their foot off the gas, and therefore y'all put the Ferrari in gear and caught up to them. And they couldn't turn back up. They couldn't turn the engine back on.
And a lot of championship runs, Skip and Key, you will see things like this throughout seasons of champions. You'll see games like this where you're like, man, they shouldn't have been down. We were down, I think we were down 21-3 to a Tampa team that were 0-8. to a Tampa team that hadn't won a game all season, and we're at home in CenturyLink where we're unbeatable. We're down 21-3 to, I forget the quarterback,
but it's not the
rookie
NFC
quarterback.
Championship game.
No, but I'm going to go on. I'm going to go on because we were down 16-3 to MVP Aaron Rodgers at home. Couldn't score, couldn't do anything. Our quarterback threw 3 picks. And we're going to halftime, and you're saying it's quiet. It was quiet. But what we did was said, hey, we're better. We're a better team. We're a better player. Coach, get out the way. Call man coverage the rest of the game. And they're not going to score another point, and they're not going to piss another drop, and we're going to walk out of here with the win. And that's what the San Francisco defense did. They scored 3 points after the half. Detroit scored 3 points after the half. So you can say what you want about the running the ball, the incompletion, they dropped the passes. They scored 3 points after the half. And so that's a great performance by the defense. Yes, they scored 3 points. They had 24 in the first half. My mistake, they scored 7. They scored 7. They scored 7. They scored 7.
Richard,
but 7
I
after
couldn't
the
figure
half.
out, how did they let Detroit go 75 yards at the end of the game? I know you're just playing some kind of prevent, but I was like, you can't even stop them now. You throttled them. You got them down 34-24, and they go 75 yards in 11 plays and scored a touchdown.
Because they're just playing to end the game. They're not playing to give up a bomb, an early quick bomb. They were going to make them walk the ball down the field and use clock. So they're not going to just let them, drop back, bomb us for a quick one, get the ball back, have time on the clock, have timeouts. They're going to make you burn your timeouts. They're going to make you burn clock. And that's what they did. That's why they won the game.
So, Richard, sum this up as we look forward to the Super Bowl, rematch of a game you played in 4 years ago. Do you love the way the 49ers are going into this game after the Green Bay Packers had them on the ropes and the Lions almost had them on the ropes at halftime? Do you love the way they're approaching Mahomes and company?
Absolutely love it. Battle tested.
All right. Man, I don't know. Just seems like there's some weaknesses exposed here, like 148 rush yards.
Every team got weaknesses.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
You something else, Rich.
Yeah, he is. He's
you something
amazing.
else, man. You something else, man.
All right, up next, we got to talk LeBron. We got to talk Lakers because Dylan Brooks is at it again. How does he get away with all of that? That's next.
No mercy, no mercy, no mercy.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.